Welcome to the Talking Transformation podcast, presented to you from the Western Cape pod bunker located here in the heart of Cape Town, South Africa. This pod is presented to provide a platform and a voice for built environment professionals and interest groups who are working towards transforming the places and spaces here in South Africa. It is dedicated to those individuals and community groups that are supporting both the formal and informal processes that are shaping our cities and our spaces. In today's Talking Transformation podcast, we celebrate Women's Month here in South Africa and the emergence of a new voice in the planning collective, the Women in Planning South Africa, or WiPSA for short. In our last few episodes, we've looked at the youth in planning and questioned the value proposition being offered by the profession at a time of massive global upheaval. We're going to hear today from Gugu Sithole-Ngobese, founding director of WiPSA, and you're going to hear from her very clearly around their emphasis and value proposition. She'll talk about youth development and the nurturing of young talent as a cornerstone of their philosophy, and the importance of gender issues in our planning profession, not only in the workplace, but with the communities and society that we serve. We asked Gugu what led her to this initiative, what were the early successes and challenges, and what lies in store for the growing membership of the organisation. Although it's been a quiet month during August for the Talking Transformation podcast, it follows a very busy month in the preparation for and the lead up to the episode on the future of the planning profession in South Africa. There's a lot more planned in the coming weeks and the coming months, and although you won't hear from her in this episode, planning and journalist graduate Amal Saji helped in the co-production of this episode. You're going to hear a lot more from her in the coming weeks and months. We hope you enjoy the episode. As always, we look forward to your feedback. You can find out more on our Twitter platform on Talking Transfo and the number 1, or alternatively the Anchor podcast platform app, where you can leave a voice message on your thoughts and reflections on today's episode. We hope you enjoy. So it's just gone 4 o'clock, August 24th on a Monday, and across in Durban, we're absolutely privileged to have Gugu Sithole-Ngobese. Gugu is the founder of the Women in Planning South Africa. How are you today, Gugu? How's things going? How have you been keeping during this transition phase into phase 2 of lockdown? You've got a lot of changes coming in your family in the next couple of weeks, not so?
Good afternoon, Peter. Thank you for inviting me for this discussion this afternoon. I'm doing very well, thank you. Actually, this lockdown has introduced a lot of things to me. I've been able to do some of my online courses. So I think it was a great opportunity for me to actually do this continuous professional development program. And also, I think I've been doing quite a lot during the lockdown because you don't have tea breaks and lunch breaks. So you just continue doing your work. The fact that I'm highly pregnant right now, it's actually, for me, I don't have anywhere to go. So I'm just stuck in front of my laptop most of the time. But I'm actually on maternity leave officially now.
Well, we're really going to wish you all the very best for the pregnancy and the baby arriving. Good luck with that. And in the meantime, you've delivered on another initiative. Congratulations on the initiative and the efforts in establishing Women in Planning South Africa. That's all happened during the course of this last year. I think you had an online launch a month or 2 ago. I'm fascinated to understand more in this conversation today about WiPSA and what it stands for, why you've introduced this as a new umbrella organisation, and how important the whole gender issue within the profession is at the moment. So, yeah, what led you down this path, and how have you found yourself here as the founder of our newest professional organisation?
Actually, Women in Planning South Africa is established around the concept of gender mainstreaming in the planning and the built environment sector in general. Maybe to briefly unpack the concept of gender mainstreaming, what we are talking about and what we want to encourage is a different thinking or a different approach about gender issues and how we approach it in the planning policies and strategies that we normally do For instance, our IDPs, SDFs, how are we really addressing the gender issues in real life, the issues of housing, the issues of access to social infrastructure, because those issues, they actually affect women in ultimately. So I wanted just to create a platform for women to engage and come up with different solutions in terms of how do we address these things in real life. Of course, we also want to address the issue of gender inequality in the sector. I just want to give the opportunity to the young women in the sector who might be interested in planning, but they don't know where to start, where to go. And for me, having gotten an opportunity to be a mentor to some of the female candidates in the planning sector, I saw a need to actually create this platform for young professionals, the female in particular. That's basically the motive behind starting Women in Planning South Africa. And of course, we want to work with other organizations in the sector, SecPlan and SEPI and any other organization, even international organizations. So we are not just pulling away and doing something completely different. But our main focus, and what we want to emphasize is the gender around planning policies, but also around the profession in general.
It's always fantastic to hear when somebody takes the initiative and finds a way to contribute beyond just their immediate workspace. And again, it's really great to hear the way that you've described the ambition and the reason and the rationale behind WiPSA. And what's interesting to me is let's start with yourself in terms of your own background. Where did you study? How did you get into planning? And if I understood correctly in reading some of the background information, and I get the sense that the profession owes a lot to your high school principal. Did I understand that correctly? And is there a nice story behind that, how you got into this space?
Yes, definitely. My high school principal was instrumental in for me to decide on my career. Basically, what happened is that in my last year in high school, my principal told me that this is the career that I think you should pursue. But at that time, I had already applied for other courses and I was taken by different universities. But for some reasons, I do find myself now doing town planning. What is interesting is that at that time, when I was doing my high school years, there wasn't enough information about what town and regional planning entailed. So in my head, what I thought was that I'll be doing all these complex drawings that I used to do in school because I used to do technical drawing and physical sciences, and I was quite good in those things. But I hated the fact of that I'll be doing these complex drawings. So I think it's very important even now that we provide opportunity for career guidance to the students, because what we are taught in school and what we actually do as town planners is totally different. So I think it would be nice to actually advise people about the profession itself. And then I actually enrolled at the DUT to complete my national diploma in town and regional planning. And then I did the BTech in management. Later, I did my master's in town and regional planning at the University of Pretoria. And then after that, in 2008-9, I established my own consulting firm, which is the Pelele Planning and Environmental Consultancy. But subsequently after that, I think around 2015, 2016, I started this initiative, Women in Planning South Africa, even though we weren't active around that time, when we only started now to be active around social media in terms of what we do as women in planning. But it's an idea that I also just introduced to SecPlan back then in 2015, 2016. So then we are now.
Well, indeed, here you are, and I mean, what has the reaction been from SACPLAN as I guess they're the primary umbrella organisation? They've been quite hands-on on the women's issue, particularly last year. I think there was a series of road shows that they did addressing women in planning. How have you found the reaction been to the launching of the initiative?
Well, it's been very wonderful. What's interesting is that we're getting support from other women planners around South Africa. And I've realized that there's many of us, but we are working in our little corners. We don't have this opportunity to engage and to see who else is doing these things way. So we've gotten a lot of support from different planners in the industry. We've also gotten a lot of support from the students. It was very interesting to me to find out that students are actually interested in this initiative. And some, they just want to volunteer because they want to keep busy. They want to do something. So one of the things that we want to do as women in planning is just to open up opportunities for young planners to come on board, share their expertise and initiatives and what they would like the organization to do for them. And perhaps that will open opportunities for employment for these candidates. That is why we also want corporates or the companies to come on board and say they are looking for unemployed graduates to help them with registration as well. So the support has been very wonderful. I didn't expect it. And the fact that we launched this during the lockdown, so I wasn't expecting the support to be as great as it is. And we are increasing the number of followers every week. The number of followers is increasing. So thank you very much to everyone who has supported. And some people do have some reservations, but I think it's quite early and people will get to understand what we are trying to achieve with this initiative.
I mean, that's interesting. You say some people have had reservations. What type of reservations have you come across? What have some of the challenges been in getting the WiPSA established?
Well, like you said, I think some of the people have been asking the questions as to what is it that we're bringing that is different from what SACPLAN or SAPI and any other organization is doing. Like I said, we are not trying to exclude any narratives or opinions from other genders or other organizations in the sector. Our objective is to try and work with them, with those organizations that are already existing. But our mandate or our objective is a little bit different because our focus is on women in the sector. I understand that SACPLAN and SEPI, they've got their own mandate, so we cannot go into another organization and try to influence their ultimate mission. So, but working together, I think we can achieve what we all want to achieve in terms of changing the way we operate in the sector, changing the way we implement the policies and strategies in the sector. So our focus is a little bit different. And what we are doing basically is not new. We see it happening all around the world. It's an initiative that other countries are actually going for, countries like Austria, Vienna. So it's not something that is completely new, but it's something that hasn't been actually done in South Africa, and it's quite needed. So I think that's why we started this initiative.
It's really interesting when you talk about this period of lockdown and trying to launch anything, whether it's business, whether it's a professional organisation, is a challenge at the best of times. But in this one where you're struggling, it's almost a double-edged sword, because on the one side it's difficult because you're starting off with the inability to be in a room and have a discussion with people. But then through platforms such as this Skype that we're on today, or whether it's Zoom or MS Teams, all these different platforms, it also seems to have opened up the ability to have a conversation here we are, you're in Durban, I'm here in Cape Town. The listeners will be listening, whether it's on their podcast apps around the world, as much as in South Africa. So it's almost it's given opportunities which maybe weren't there before. And so my question to you is really around social media and how important that has been in getting you going, in getting your message out. And as you say, you're seeing growth on a regular basis, which must be such a satisfying thing of seeing the benefit and the reward for your initiative. So yeah, your thoughts on this whole question of working with this technology we have, social media, whether it's Twitter and LinkedIn, which I think each of these you're involved with and have got a presence on, and we'll talk a bit more about that just now. But yeah, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this lockdown has actually taught us something very important, that we do not need to wait to see each other face to face to actually talk or have these meetings. I think it's provided us with a great opportunity to engage with anyone, anyway. Going forward, I do think and believe this is the way to go. And it's also saving us money. We don't have to organize meetings in these costly venues and all of that. So I think these are the platforms that we really need to start using as planners or any other profession or anyone else who wants to engage with people in different areas. So it's been very useful to us. And I don't know whether I should say it's fortunate or unfortunate, but we actually on in March, when we wanted to launch, that's when the lockdown started. So all these years we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and when we wanted to launch, and then the lockdown started, but we didn't stop. We said, you know what, we have to do something. So we'll continue. We'll just see how it goes, whether we receive feedback or we don't, but something that we're going to do. So I think it's been a great opportunity for us to work through social media, and we're able to actually engage mostly with the youth through social media. I think it's a great platform for everyone to use.
I mean, it's interesting there you talk about the idea of as a group of you who've been responsible for this. Maybe if you can tell us a bit about how you've gone about structuring the organization, even in this sort of fledgling format. Who've been your main supporters, and are there fellow directors on board? And is this something you're going to sort of relook at on an annual basis, the idea of electing almost officials to in a voluntary sense, drive the initiative forward? What's your thinking, and how have you gone about it at this stage?
Okay, so basically, WiPSA was founded by 3 registered female planners, which is myself, 2 of my friends, Miss Meneli Simhlanga and Samgel Mkize. They are both town planners. Basically, for now, the organizational functions are being driven by the 3 of us. But we are hoping to actually establish a board to execute oversight. And we are also inviting other women who would like to volunteer their services to come on board. But we do have a constitution as well, which is available on our website, which just provides an overview of the structure within our organization. And what's good is that we have received support from other women in the industry who want to actually help, and they want to be part of committees. Any committee that we can establish within the organization, they want to be part of that. So we are still trying to formalize the structure. We just wanted to get the feel in terms of the membership, in terms of how people respond to this initiative. And of course, I think we'll start with our members and those who have registered as members of WiPSA, and see if they would like to offer their services somehow to actually help to manage the organization going forward.
What, in your opinion, between yourself and your co-directors there, the 3 founders, what is the agenda? There are so many different built environment issues right now. Housing, top of the list. water, sanitation, major issues, growth of informality. I mean, there's an agenda as long as our arm. But in terms of the gender-based issue and the female perspective, what do you think are the main issues that we should be thinking about and that WiPSA is going to be looking at in these months and years to come?
I think also relating to this COVID-19 issue, I think the issue of access to social infrastructure will be critical going forward. The issue of access to sustainable human settlements, and I use sustainable because there's a reason. I think it's time now we start providing services or the infrastructure that has all the required components to it when you're providing these facilities. So it's not the matter of just providing a shelter. And in doing that, we must consider the needs of women. And we know in South Africa, according to the stats, that most of the households are headed by women. So, yes. So when planning around these issues, the issues of housing, social infrastructure, we must understand who is mostly affected by these things and how can we offer better services to our communities. And one critical thing that I think we should think about as planners is that planning is basically about people. So we must start doing our work with that thinking that we are doing this for people. So it goes beyond just doing these strategic plans, policies, and following those standard procedures and all of that and trying to comply. We are really planning for real lives, and we need to start taking that seriously in our policies. That is why I was talking about gender mainstreaming in the context of policy drafting or development strategies drafting. So I'll just make an example. In our IDPs, SDFs, and most of the planning documents or planning the development plans that we do, sector plans and all of that, we always give this background about the socio-economic status quo. But how do we use that information to actually address the issues on the ground, to actually make sure that the environment that the women find themselves in is actually safe, to also address the issues of gender-based violence, because there's poor access to transport infrastructure or because of poor transportation networks. So those are the things that we really need to start to look at and see how they affect the gender in the context of planning. What I was actually thinking about these days is the fact that as planners, I think we are sort of like trying to take a back seat when it comes to these issues, or we are sort of like inferior to other professions in the sector, whereas we should be actually taking a leading role. What I mean by that, like I was explaining the issue of IDPs and having to document so many interventions that could be implemented through the IDPs, but we fail to follow through in terms of whether those things are implemented. There is a lack of integration when it comes to other sectors who are critical when it comes to implementing these things, like provision of transportation, the social infrastructure, and all of that. I think it's quite difficult to address it, but I think as planners, in order for us to be able to address this, we need to sort of take a leadership role in these matters, because IDPs, like I said, even we are planning for the communities, for people, as planners, we understand that, but other sectors, their focus is about providing the structures and providing all these mega facilities. But for us, it goes beyond that. So we need to take this leading role to ensure that the infrastructure, housing, and all of those things, they are channeled to the areas where they are needed most. And the people who have all that information or understands better what is required is the planners. By us taking that leadership role, we'll be able to coordinate efforts from different sectors. It's quite difficult to get everyone involved and everyone participating or providing their integrated input. But I think it's something that we should start looking at as planners, to actually take a leading role when it comes to these issues, and make sure that it results to what we want to achieve through our IDPs and any other strategic development planning in planning.
I think it's a critical moment for us, Gugu, not only in terms of that COVID recovery, or in terms of as we transition out of the pandemic or the worst impacts of it, but as you've mentioned, the Integrated Development Plan, or the IDP, that will come with the new municipal elections next year, a new term of office, another 5-year term, and to try and establish an agenda, a manifesto that builds on that political, whoever wins in the different municipalities, but at least starting to put down a clear agenda for the next 5 years ahead in each of those municipalities. This leadership you talk about is absolutely fundamental. I would agree with you.
Yes, definitely. I think that's the only way we can try and address these issues properly, because we find that a different department is doing something somewhere in their corner and someone is doing, but there's no coordination. But if we take planners and put them as lead in those issues, I think we'll be able to actually do something better and achieve what we want to achieve through our IDPs.
I guess that age-old issue, sectoral integration, as well as the integration across the spheres, province working with municipalities, province working with the national departments, hopefully all tries to make sense and moves us in the right direction.
Yes, definitely.
One of the initiatives that I was really impressed with and excited about, in particular with a lot of the podcasts we've done recently, where we've tried to take a bit more of a youth perspective and a sort of professional capacitation, was that you are running with, if I understood correctly, an internship placement program. Can you tell us a bit about that? How does it work? How have you looked for partners to assist you with the placement of, I assume, female graduates from planning schools? It's a very exciting initiative.
Yes, Pete, our idea from the beginning was to match candidate planners. We were actually looking at all genders, not particularly women. And of course, the priority will be female candidates. We wanted to just get a register of all graduates who are looking for employment, and keep it so that if there's any prospective employer, it's easy for them to just access our database and offer interviews to those candidates. I received many applications from young planners with potential skills, and we've also received a few corporate partners willing to interview the candidates. But I do feel that this is still an area where we still need a lot of support from corporates and the government. What I actually wanted or thought about in terms of this as women in planning, we want people to just come on board and volunteer to be mentors to these graduates, because we find that a lot of graduates are sitting at home and they don't find mentorship. So if we can get mentors to say we are willing to just provide mentorship to these people, just so that they register for that 2 year that's required to register. So I think that's the other way we can approach it, because it's not so easy to get people to offer employment based on these economic times that we are faced with. So if we get volunteers from the registered planners who say we are willing to provide mentorship and guide the young professionals until they get registration, we are more than open for that discussion. And I'm hoping that people will offer those services to our young planners, because we've got quite a lot of them. We've got a long register of those candidates waiting to get opportunities.
Yeah, it's a big issue, because I know even within my situation and my employer, in terms of the municipal space, we've seen the internship program is not going to be continued with next year. One of the big challenges for graduates is the closing of opportunities. And again, that's why I say I'm very excited to see that your internship placement program is going and is up, trying to assist that next generation of planners. And thanks for clarifying that it's not just the female, but both male and female graduates. So Gugu, I mean, one of the questions that probably comes up is the benefits of mentoring. And I think those of us who've had a mentor in our career can point to the success and the advantage of having a mentor. Is there somebody who's helped you during your career, who's helped you and mentored you along the way?
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. For me, I'll say I did have a mentor, but unfortunately, it wasn't a woman. So that is why I wish that many women or all the registered women can come on board and help students with mentorship. In my university years, one of the people that actually helped me was my lecturer, Miss Jo Lincoln, who was a gender activist in the 1980s, and she was involved in the Natal Organization of Women, I think. So she was very instrumental for my training during my university years, and I learned a lot from her. And she was one of those practical people. I could relate some of the things when it comes to what we were doing in the university and what the expectations should be when you go to the work environment. But I think the difficulty comes when you leave the university. Like I was highlighting that there's a lot of students who want this mentorship program after their university years, and it's very difficult. So this is where I think WiPSA can assist. But of course, if we get people who are willing to mentor these students for free. In my company that I also run, I take students. I even tell them to come and volunteer. I tell them that there is a difficulty. I can't even pay some of you, but I'm willing to mentor you on a voluntary basis. If you want to come just to get the training for 2 years so that you get registered, it's fine with me. So I provide those opportunities. And I've got a long list of people that I have actually helped with mentorship under my consulting firm. But it's something that I want to do under WiPSA as well, because I want different people with different skill sets to assist us in terms of that mentorship program.
Can you perhaps give a bit more explanation? Let's talk about it on two levels. One is around if people who are listening want to get involved and join WiPSA as a member, how do they go about that? And then if somebody is saying, look, I want to be a mentor, I want to be registered with you to try and assist and spread that load geographically, as well as in terms of perhaps different specialities, how do people do that? So on the one hand, membership, second hand, the mentoring.
Basically, our membership structure is structured as follows. We have academic, corporate, young planners, students, retired planners, and associates. So associates is anyone who's not a planner but commits to the principles and objectives of the organizations. For now, in terms of membership, we are actually encouraging people to register for free, but we do have the 100 Rands registration fee, of which we've actually it's tried to stop it for the period of August, just so we get more people to be members. So in terms of membership, then you can also visit our webpage to find more information about those categories that I've mentioned. There is no membership fee, which is just that registration fee, which is for the month of August not applicable. So in terms of offering the services like mentorship, you can also just drop us an email, contact and tell us that these are the skill sets that you have and you would like to offer mentorship. And we have a different sort of like register for mentors. Then we'll try to link those mentors with the candidates that we already have in our register.
I know people can find you on LinkedIn, but what is the email address that you'd want to share in that regard, particularly around the mentoring?
So, email is admin@wipsa.org.za.
Okay, so it's easy as that. And is there an online application form for prospective members?
Yes, there is an online form. You can request it via email or also download it from our webpage, which is www.wipsa.org.za.
Fantastic. So it's all set up. You've got your website going. You've got your LinkedIn profiles, Twitter platforms, etc., etc. What can people expect from you in the coming 12 months? You've clearly got your own family commitments coming in the next few days and few weeks, but your co-directors and your members, what can we expect to see from you in the next 12 months or so? What's your priorities? Once we move out of lockdown, are we going to see you more visibly in terms of meet and greets? What's the thinking?
Yes, definitely. You're going to see our faces going forward. But what we are hoping to do in the next few months, we're hoping to just strengthen our partnership with other organizations. We spoke about SEPI, SECPLAN, and any other organizations. So we just want to strengthen that relationship and see what we can do together to actually help women in the sector. And we are not just looking at the local organizations, but we're looking internationally as well, the organizations that are doing the same things that we are doing or what we're trying to achieve as WiPSA. So we want to reach out to them. And of course, you can expect more conversations, more engagement through our social media platforms. We're still going to continue with that. But also, I believe the programs and strategies of our organization must be decided by our members. So we want to hear more from our members in terms of what they want us to address going forward. We've had some input from some of our members highlighting things like mentorship. I think mentorship is the most talked about topic. So they want us to help around that area, and the issue of internship placement, job placement for professional planners, and also the CPD training for the practicing professional planners. So we want to engage more around those issues and see how we can assist each other going forward.
It seems like you've got a full program ahead of you, and there's a lot of amazing contributions that you're clearly going to make. Just a reminder to yourself, Gugu, as well as the listeners, that even reviewing something like this podcast can get you three CPD points. That's one of the things that we've organised and endorsed by the SAC plan. So absolutely, any opportunity, any avenue that we can develop this CPD, expand the knowledge base of all professionals, planners within South Africa. That's clearly an ambition that the podcast and WiPSA hold dear. So good luck with that. And any way we can help you in the coming weeks, coming months, we're certainly looking in the second year of the podcast to be looking at collaboration, about working with different partners. We've spoken last episode with SAPIs, with the South African Association of Consulting Planning Practitioners. We've been endorsed by SACPlan, and to pull in another organisation such as yourself and work with you and help you wherever we can is absolutely fundamental to why we've set ourselves up this side as well. So I look forward and I hope that we'll work together in the months to come. All the very best with it.
Yes, definitely, Pete. Like I said, what we want to do is not to do our own thing in our little corner. We're hoping to integrate with other organizations who are doing the great work in the planning sector, trying to do best things. So we are hoping that going forward we'll be able to work together and understand each other's objectives. No one is pulling on the other side. We all want to work together towards a common goal. So yeah, hopefully going forward and even after my maternity, I'll be able to start doing a lot more things around these issues.
Well, we certainly wish you the very best, Gugu. I say congratulations. I'm extremely excited to see where this is going. And I say anything that's new and innovative and trying to bring a coherent message in the planning profession right now is always going to be welcome. So thanks very much for spending some time with us this afternoon. I know you've been very busy between your working from home, between your family responsibilities, and obviously preparing for a new arrival. And we look forward to meeting up with you again. Maybe in the next month or two, we check in again, Gugu, find out how you're keeping and find out how things are progressing within the WiPSA space.
Thank you, Pete, very much for inviting me for this discussion again. Before I forget, we have the Cyclone Women webinar, I think on the 26th, this Wednesday. So I'm inviting you for that. And I've been invited as one of the panelists representing women in planning South Africa. So please join us for that.
That's fantastic, and thanks for reminding us. Just please, just remind me the date and the time of that webinar, please, Gugu.
It's on the 26th of August, 2020, which is this coming Wednesday at 2:00 to 3:30. Yeah.
Fantastic. So all being well, if this podcast goes out tomorrow after we've recorded it, it will be the following day. So it's actually going to be quite a quick turnaround. So good luck with that, Gugu. I know you've been very much in demand. And again, I think it tells you how excited people are about what you're trying to do there. And I wish you the very, very best going forward. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe during lockdown, and all the very best with your new arrival in the coming weeks. All the best.
Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Talking Transformation podcast. Please engage with us and let us know your thoughts on this episode. You can do so via the Anchor podcast platform. There's a voice message function available via the app. You can also follow us on Twitter via Talking Transfo and the number 1. So Talking Transfo 1. Our theme music is kindly made available by Tribal Need. Find out about the music, the street art shows here in Cape Town and Europe via tribalneed.com.